Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? That good. Wonderful. I'm doing well. I have bright lights on my face, so it must be a panel. Yay! So, hello and welcome to my panel. My name is Crispin Freeman, but you probably knew that. If you didn't, you're in the wrong room. I'm sure they're showing Gundam somewhere else, but not here. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. I believe there is a microphone right over there in that area there. If you would like to ask a question, please walk, do not run to the exits. No. Please keep your seatbelts fastened at all times. Your nearest exit may be behind you. All right, wow. I will do my best to get through as many questions as possible. And please make sure to step up nice and close to the mic so we can hear you clearly. If you need to tilt it up or down so that it points towards this mouth thing that usually makes noise, that would be great. But before we start, I do have a quick announcement. We have a birthday in the room. Happy birthday to Dave, the sound guy. A big round of applause. Happy birthday, Dave. All right, first question, sir, in the yellow.
Yes. Has there ever been a show or a video game that you wanted to be on but couldn't because it was non-union?
Yes.
Which ones?
I was eager to work on Samurai Champloo, but they did it non-union, so I couldn't work on it. I'm trying to think if there are any other big shows they did non-union that I was sort of eager to work on. I try to forget them, honestly, and move on to the next project, so I don't agonize about it, but yeah, that was one that I remember.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Dave. There you go. It's not my birthday.
What are your thoughts on Bandai Entertainment pulling the plug to their operations back in March?
What are my thoughts? My thoughts are that it's a shame because I really like Bandai Entertainment, and actually a bunch of those guys who worked at Bandai Entertainment here in the US, in the US office, are actually here at the convention. They're doing a nostalgia panel, I think tomorrow morning, which should be a lot of fun. I think it's sad because it's nice to have them here, but it's sort of an economic wake-up call. I think that the Japanese have been a little reluctant to get on board with the whole streaming media concept and distribution. I'm not sure, the Japanese, I think, have not been quite comfortable, have not quite known how to adapt to the requirements of a global media culture. Like, how do you release your content if you make movies and TV? How do you release it to a global audience? Japan has always sort of focused on releasing their content to Japan, and other markets were sort of an afterthought. Now, those other markets have so much access to Japanese content because of the internet and because of piracy that the Japanese companies are, I think, feeling a little overwhelmed and not quite sure how to handle that sort of larger distribution. But things are changing. You know, we have things like Crunchyroll now, and now there are Japanese websites that are distributing anime with English subtitles, almost concurrent releases. So it is changing, but slowly. But that basically, it's an indication of the changing shift in how the economics of entertainment are changing. And then it's not just anime, it's happening in music too. You know, a lot of you probably use Spotify to listen to music on your computers or your mobile devices. Those musicians get paid something when you play their songs, but it's a pittance, it's tiny, it's pennies on the dollar compared to if you buy their CD. So they cannot make a living off the residuals they get from Spotify, you know, and so that whole economic, it's a challenge now with online entertainment. Everybody's trying to figure out how can entertainment and content make enough money so that artists can keep producing it. Because if it doesn't make money, if movies just get watched for free, if music is listened to for free, if anime is watched for free, then the animators and the creators don't get paid and they can't keep working. So that's the challenge.
Thank Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a sad thing, you know. I realize that with anime fans, a lot of you are younger. A lot of you may not understand economics. You may not understand the idea of, you know, that studios need to get paid and how all that works. And 10, 15 years ago, you didn't need to know, right? Because the only way to get this stuff was to buy a DVD or something like that. Welcome to the brand new world. In the brand new world, you guys have a lot of input because you're on the internet and you're on chat boards and you can talk to these companies. You've got a lot more access to the artists, to the creators than you've ever had before. And with great power comes great responsibility. Right? You have the power now you have the responsibility. It is up to the audience now to decide whether an art form will live or die. And that audience has to decide if they are going to financially support that art form. If you do not support that art form financially, the art form will die. Gotta sort of put your money where your mouth is. So, next.
Hi, I'm a big fan of your podcast, and you talk a lot on it about the importance of being a character versus demonstrating a character. I was wondering if you could elaborate on exactly what you mean by demonstrating versus being?
Sure. For those of you who don't know, I do a podcast and blog on voice acting. It's called Voice Acting Mastery at voiceactingmastery.com. You can find it there. You can also find it in the iTunes store. You can search for voice acting or Crispin Freeman and it'll pop right up. You can subscribe to the podcast for free and download the episodes. I've been doing the podcast now for over 2 years. Each episode I try to explain more about voice acting and what it takes to truly work as a professional. I offer classes in Los Angeles as well as online now. I have a bunch of online classes where we work together over webcam and I direct you and help you with your acting. If that's something you're interested in, please check out voiceactingmastery.com. One of the things I talk about with my students is this idea of the difference between being a character and demonstrating a character. Demonstrating a character is doing the things that we read as an emotion, right? If I talk to you right now and I raise my voice and I start sort of yelling at you, I'm demonstrating that I'm angry at you, right? Can't you tell I'm angry at you? Now, everyone in the audience would say, well, he's clearly not happy with him, right? And he's clearly not sad. Clearly he's angry. You can understand that what I just did there looks angry, but it doesn't feel angry, does it, right? It's not the same as if I look at you and say, don't you ever say that again. Don't you look at me. Stop laughing! Right? Now you're believing that I'm really angry, right? Not that I'm angry at you, of course not, you're very nice. That's a demonstration of the difference. Now what's going on inside my head when I do that? When I'm demonstrating the character, I am keeping my own emotions hidden. I am separating myself, Crispin, and hiding it away, and I'm putting up a character. I'm sort of trying to put up a front and say, see how angry I am? See how angry I am? We don't believe it. That's not what you get paid for, right? That's not how you get the big bucks. The way you be it is you say, the character's not angry with you, I'm angry at you. If Crispin is angry at you, now we have something to talk about. Okay, and that's what I mean when you say be the character. And you say, well, is Crispin a big, dark, scary vampire who rips people's heads off? In real life, not so much, right? I'm not terribly dark and brooding and gothic. I play a lot of dark, brooding characters. So you ask yourself, well then, what is it? If I'm supposed to bring me and share my emotions to do this, but the character clearly isn't me, you know, I'm not a vampire. You know, rumors to the contrary, I'm not a vampire. What you then have to do is you have to look inside yourself and see what part of you lines up with that character. What part of me gets vicious and angry? Or with Hideki from Chobits, who's sort of hapless and tries his best but always messes up. What part of me is clueless and clumsy? And so that's what an actor is doing, rather than trying to create something in front of them like a puppet that they're using. So hopefully that gives you some sense of the difference between demonstrating a character and being the character. Right? Thank you. You bet.
Okay, I wasn't here yesterday, so bear with me if you've been asked this question before, okay?
Right, all right.
All right, I know you were a part of a series called Noein.
Yes.
So, how did you feel playing technically two different characters?
Are you talking about the revelation at the end of the show, the second character that I play?
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the whole show before we started recording. So I didn't know about the second character that I was playing until it showed up. And that's when I looked at the director and said, "Why didn't you tell me? Would have been helpful." I had a similar experience on Young Justice. Since it's aired and been aired for a long time, the first season, there's a whole question about who the mole is. There's somebody who's inside who's giving information to the bad guys. And no one knows who the mole is. It's me! And I didn't know until episode 25 of 26. I'm reading the script and it comes out. And I'm like, what? And then I read 26 and I'm like, oh no! And the producer is a friend of mine, Greg Weisman. And I walked into the studio the next day, I was like, Greg, why didn't you tell me? And then he's like, oh, we didn't want you to know, we didn't want to... I'm an actor, I'm not the audience. The audience isn't supposed to know. The actor needs to know in order to plant the seed so that it works well in the process. So, I like to know that kind of stuff going in, but unfortunately, I didn't want to know it. So.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I have a question about Wolf's Rain.
Yes.
It's a terribly depressing anime. I was wondering how you felt at the end of the anime.
I think you have problems expressing your emotions, sir. No, you're great. You found Wolf's Rain very depressing.
Yes.
Yes. There is a reason why it is that way. It has to do with the cosmology of the world that it takes place in. Wolf's Rain, for those of you who may not know, I have a certain fascination with mythological storytelling, and I will have a big panel late this afternoon at 4:45, my anime mythology panel. There actually is one of my presentations where I talk about Wolf's Rain in detail. Unfortunately, it is not the one I'm doing today, but the point of what I'm trying to get to is, Wolf's Rain is depressing because it is, or it can be seen as depressing. No, it's sad. The end of Wolf's Rain is very sad. Because it is working on a sort of Hindu-Buddhist cosmology. And in the Hindu notion of how the world and the universe is created, there is a cycling of the world. The world is born, it matures, and then it dies, and then it recycles. And so what you're dealing with Kiba, is the main character in Wolf's Rain, is sort of like a Buddha figure. He's aware of his past lives. That's why that last little sequence mirrors what happens in the opening credits of every episode, is because they're trying to link what Kiba's spiritual journey, what he's going through. The Buddha's journey was not a happy one, right? The Buddha's journey was also sort of depressing. So it's sort of appropriate if you're trying to get across a Buddhist message that the characters themselves have to go through the same sort of trials and tribulations that the Buddha had to go through to get his experience and knowledge. Neo in The Matrix didn't have a very good time either. That's the best modern retelling of the Buddha that I know, The Matrix. It's fantastic. So that's part of why it is built the way it is that it's the same thing that happened to Prince Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know, you guys probably think I'm speaking Swahili now. But it's actually Sanskrit. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the core scriptures of Hinduism, and in it, Prince Arjuna is supposed to go to war against his cousins. And he rides out in his chariot and sees all of his cousins and says, I can't fight my cousins. These are my family. I'm not going to kill them. Better that I not fight. Even though I am a prince and I'm supposed to go to war, I will not fight. What he doesn't know is his charioteer is Krishna, the god Krishna. And Krishna turns around and says, wimp? Don't you understand your duty as a prince is to go to war and fight? And don't you understand that I am an infinite God, and I've already destroyed all these people, and they will be destroyed over and over again because they're all going to be reincarnated, and then they'll be destroyed again, and then they'll be reincarnated, and then they'll be destroyed again. So there's nothing you can do. One life? You're going through this cycle millions of times, dude. Get in there and do your dharma. And Arjuna's like, what? And then he sits at the feet of Krishna, and Krishna explains to him Hinduism. So it's that sort of cycle.